Hi, everybody. It's Tim Constantine for America. And with us, as he is every week, Dave Bozell. Hi, Dave. How are
Hey,
you?
Dave, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing very well. Thank
Good.
you. You know, when we were kids, there was a show called The Brady Bunch. And there's an old line from that, Marcia, Marcia, Marcia. Today, and, you know, in current day, not only this week, but a week ago, we heard guilty, guilty, guilty.
Yeah.
The trials of Donald Trump and the trials of Hunter Biden.
Right.
How is this, if at all, going to affect the campaign? Let's start with the president, Donald Trump.
Well, I feel like the DOJ is kind of like Oprah Winfrey, when she used to like give out cards to the audience. DOJ is like, you get a guilty verdict, and you get a guilty verdict, and you get a guilty verdict. I don't think really either conviction is going to make a major dent in the presidential. It'll be interesting during the debate later on this month if Joe Biden tries to refer to his opponent, Donald Trump, as a convicted felon.
I guarantee you he will. I will. They can only get him to memorize about 4 lines, and that's going to be one of them.
Right. Now, Donald Trump's got to have a comeback to that, and now he kind of does, with his son. Now, DOJ really let the potential severe charges for Hunter Biden go by the wayside, and the statute of limitations expired on all the tax evasion stuff. So they really kind of let him off the hook. And of course, Hunter will appeal. So I don't suspect Hunter will see much jail time. I don't suspect Donald Trump will see jail time in his case either, though I think he'll be sentenced. But I don't think.
Let's talk specifically about that, because sentencing is scheduled for July 11th. The convention is scheduled for July 15th. So my theory is that the judge, who clearly is not impartial, clearly does not like Donald Trump,
right,
I think could do something crazy here. Either could say, well, I'm sentencing you to X amount of time behind bars, or could say you have to wear an anklet and you can't leave the state of New York, or could say any number of things.
Yeah.
Of which Trump will appeal, but that will become the story going into the convention, which really, it's the old Hillary Clinton, distract them, show them the shiny object out here, and they won't see what's right in front of them. And that's, I think, what their play is with Trump is, let's continue to distract. We did with the Ukraine thing, with impeachment. We did with the Russia. And now we are with these cases. Let's just distract from his policy.
Well, Tim, what's your opinion here? Do you think Judge Merchan puts Trump behind bars right then and there? Because he could. I mean, he could have him locked up right then and there. So I'm kind of curious what you think. I don't think he'll do that. I think he'll sentence him to prison, but there will be, sort of a waiting game, and it'll probably be for a couple of months or well past the election. Because I don't think the judge wants to go down that way. But do you think the judge might lock him up right then and there on the eve of the Republican nominees convention?
I think it's entirely possible, because I think this court case is political in nature from the get-go. I don't think it's about justice. I think it's about the story and keeping this guy as distracted and as difficult a run for president as possible. So Merchan clearly is not in this just for blind justice. He does not like Donald Trump, and he's made that crystal clear.
Right. And if I'm Trump too during the debate, I'm kind of toying with the idea of challenging, if this comes up, which I'm sure it will. I'd be toying with the idea of challenging Joe Biden to name the crime that Joe Biden.
That's a great idea.
Convicted of. Really, just explain it. Have Joe Biden explain to the country what wrongdoing Donald Trump committed, and just watch Joe Biden twist himself in knots, because no one seems to be able to explain the underlying crime.
No, and you compare this to any number of other cases, but let's say that there's a legitimate case. Let's say that Donald Trump is legitimately guilty. The question now becomes, what has the precedent been? What traditionally have been the punishment? Do they send people away to jail for this? There's very few cases like this.
Yeah.
But do you send someone to jail for this? Because I guarantee you the answer is no, they never have.
No, they never have. Yeah, I mean,
so when
he'd be a first offender too. So
right. So if Merchan says, well, I'm giving you 6 months in jail and you must surrender immediately. But I think what's more likely and more difficult is because that seems too dramatic. That
Right.
seems like, okay, this is so. I think an anklet, and you must stay in the state of New York, with trying to impact their convention and trying to impact his ability to campaign. I think that's the most likely in my mind, because I do think this is political. I don't think it's about justice.
I think McCann is going to cite the 34 counts and say, look, if it was just one, I'd let you off with a fine. But because there's 34, I'm duty bound to put you into prison. And maybe he comes up with this sort of Mitch McConnell-esque tagline that says, well, I'll let the American people decide, so I'll hold off on your sentence until after the election.
Maybe he comes up with a Pontius Pilate kind of thing, and I'll
Right.
let the American people decide.
Right.
Absolutely nuts. The whole thing is crazy.
Yeah.
And even if you loathe Donald Trump, if you hate Donald Trump with a passion, you cannot look at 4 different jurisdictions, 3 different levels of government, cases from 8 years ago, cases from 4 years ago, cases from last year, all coincidentally coming together at election time.
Right.
Even if you hate Trump, you have to think, yeah, this might be political.
Yeah, and the case that he's found guilty of is by all the wizards of smart was considered the weakest of the bunch, and that's the one they get him on using an admitted liar as their star witness in Cohen. So it's all very political. I don't think we're breaking any news there. I think Donald Trump has used it to his advantage thus far. I mean, his rallies have been extraordinarily popular. Tens of thousands of people in any location that he's done. I mean, you feel like he's been wound up, right? He's been sitting in a courtroom for 8 weeks, and he's hitting the pavement hard. And he basically has a window between now and the debate to go to barnstorm the country to do as many rallies as possible. Then there's the debate, and then there's the sentencing, and then who knows? This sort of the traveling roadshow part of this campaign might be over.
Believe me, I'm not comparing Donald Trump to MLK or to Jesus, but they're the most famous cases, one in modern day, one historical of all time, when they tried to silence someone.
Yeah.
And the public rallies and says, whoa, you have gone too far. They're not killing Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is not Jesus. Don't misunderstand me. But if they put him behind bars, then I think even people like your independent voter who think, that's not right, the justice system is being abused, I think they end up going in Trump's favor. I think there's a thought that, okay, the justice system is being abused by the current administration. We need a change.
Yeah. I think the polls have sort of leveled out, right, from where they were pre-conviction, Trump conviction. I mean, he enjoyed a bump, and then he had a dip, and then he's leveled back out. He's 2 or 3. And if you look at the Real Clear average politics polls now, he's up 2 or 3 nationwide. He's up 2 or 3 in most battleground states. So I think everything's sort of calmed down after the initial shock of seeing him convicted. But again, if I'm Donald Trump, I am pounding Joe Biden hard to define for the country what it was that he did wrong. And Joe Biden is not going to be able to pull that off.
Excellent plan. Let's slide that suggestion to the team and see if it goes. You and I are going to gather around the campfire the night of the debate and watch it, and we'll heckle the television. We'll talk back the whole time. It'll be a very, very entertaining night, no matter what goes on. Dave Moselle is for America. I'm Tim Constantine from the Washington Times. Thanks for joining us.